everybody. We are Mortgage Post 411. I am Audrey Boissonou. This is my co-host, Kevin Casey, and we are joined by wonderful Megan Anderson with MBS Highway. You have a very impressive title, Megan. Vice President.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. Smart and cute. Perfect. So it hit me last week that I am so sick of the word recession.
Yeah.
So sick. So I told Kevin that I thought we should turn it into a drinking game. Every time someone says the R word, we all take a shot. What do you think? But then I realized that if we had done that in the last year and a half, we'd all be in AA at this point. So it's probably a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, are you sick of it? I'm sick of it. Like,
I am sick of it. I am sick. You know what I'm sick about it with is the fact that we're not in a recession. Why are they calling it a recession right now?
Yeah,
you know, like there's just so many factors. Not only that, but a recession would actually be a good thing for us. You know,
Yeah.
we historically see rates decline during that time period. So we got to be ready to go when they actually do call it a recession.
Right.
I think all the mortgage people will be
I don't care anymore. I don't care. Like by the time that we are and when we're out, so who cares? Good catch. So with that, I just have a brief announcement. Number one, we have let me try that again. Inland Empire, say that 3 times fast. Camp is having a golf tournament on April 12th. So it says 8:30 a.m. shotgun. I'm assuming that does not mean bring your weapons. I think that's when it starts. So it's at the Upland Hills Country Club. Again, 8:30 a.m. And they're looking for sponsors. So you can register, you can be a sponsor, but show up because they have fun events, I'm told. I'm waiting for them to invite me to one. So far, it hasn't happened, but we're looking forward to hearing how it goes. With that being said, we are going to have Mark McCardle with the CFPB with us next week. Kids, we can't record it and we're not going to be able to put it on YouTube. So you've got to show up live at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, Pacific time. That would be 2 p.m. Eastern time, right, Megan? And if you are somewhere in between in the country, figure it out.
Figure it out.
With all that being said, be there and let us know. Let us know if you have questions for him specifically. There's a lot going on at the CFPB. There's that little Supreme Court thing, which probably I don't even think they're addressing it until next October. So that will not be a thing. However,
I think they have a lot of attorneys on that though.
What?
I think they have a lot of attorneys working on that.
Oh, you think? Yeah.
They have plenty, so.
What?
I believe they have plenty.
I'm sure they do.
Prerequisite to work for the CFPB is being an attorney.
Oh God. Anyway, so the whole point is be here next week. It's always interesting. He's a great guy. Like we had so much fun with him last time, and you know, he is as forthcoming as he's allowed to be. So there you go. I just also, before we dive into it, Megan, just give me one more second. I had an interesting conversation with Pam Strickland yesterday. She's a compliance person who deals specifically with DRE issues in California, Department of Real Estate, not DFPI, DRE. She said 2 things that I thought were very interesting. First of all, 78% of the audits being done by the DRE right now are over property management and trust accounts. So that is good to know. So they're not targeting mortgage people. And, you know, the DRE, they just want you to be compliant, do your thing. But the other thing that she's seen that I thought was fascinating, and it applies to whomever you're using as a wholesale lender and the disclosures that are being generated on your behalf, you got to be careful because what they're finding is that the wholesaler may or may not be putting them under the correct regulator. So if you are a DRE shop, you need to have your disclosures reflect that. If you're DFPI, they need to reflect that. Whatever your regulator is throughout the country, you need to have your regulator specifically identified. So make sure that you've got the right one on there. That is your obligation. It falls back on the LO and the broker. So just be on the lookout for that. Again, I had no idea. No idea. Have you ever heard of that?
I imagine, but never thought about it.
Okay, one more thing that I swear I'm going to shut up just for a second. So I just wanted to say,
Wait, you promise?
I didn't promise. I just said I didn't. There were no pinkies involved. Okay. So I wanted to say thank you to one of our listeners, Emily Key. She gave us a heads up last spring that there was a big problem with one of our HELOC or second lenders and the appraisal company that they were using. This wasn't the only comment that I'd heard, because I think, Kevin, you had an issue with them.
Huge problem with that particular
So
company.
I
Yes.
called the rep and I told him what was going on and what the word on the street was. He said, can you put it in writing? So I did. So I sent him an email, never heard another word. So I'm talking to them last week and someone else is covering for him. And he's like, wait, I know your name. It came up repeatedly in the meetings about that issue. So they did have meetings. They switched their appraisal company eventually. They've already gotten through the test period, which apparently was a real fun situation. And things are going swimmingly again. So my point here is, A, give us a heads up if you think there's something that maybe we can do to help if there's an issue going on. Not everything, for God's sake. I mean, there are only so many hours in the day, but this is something that helps all of us. And so
that particular lender, their appraisal department was terrible.
yes, I would have to use swear words to describe it. I'm trying not to do that right now. So I'm going to keep going. But again, thank you to Emily. And let us know if you hear things that are amiss out there. All right, Miss Megan, let's get to it, shall we?
Let's get to it.
I'm
I'm fantastic. Thank you guys for having me on again.
Oh, we love you. Okay, so the 10-year treasury, let's talk about good things, shall we? 10-year treasury today, last time I looked, was at 4.35. And that is, I mean, aren't we close to like 2-month lows on rates?
It's been a good little time for us. Really helping out today is we got the JOLTS report. That's the job opening and labor turnover report. And it's kind of showing us that, job openings are contracting, and that's a good thing. The economy is slowing down. That's going to ultimately help fight inflation. And as we've discussed before, inflation is what drives mortgage rates. A simple way to think about it is if you're kind enough to give me a mortgage, let's say it's a fixed payment, $2,000 a month, you take that $2,000 and you go out and you buy a list of goods and services. For a while, everything's great. You're able to cross everything off your list. But over time, you start to realize, I can't buy everything off the list anymore. I have to leave some stuff. Well, that was when inflation was at its 42-year high. We have been seeing inflation moderate, and it's going to continue to do so. But in order to protect themselves, mortgage companies during that time, they had to raise rates. Right? Because you couldn't come to me and say, oh, you know what? Inflation's crazy. Everything's costing more. I need $3,000 a month. You couldn't do that. It's a fixed payment. So we're starting to see all of this unwind, and it's a great time. We should soak it up because it might change on Friday when we get the BLS jobs report. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of that BLS jobs report, as our listeners know, because they always come out and they're like, oh, we're a federal agency with all sorts of resources and employees, but we get it wrong
every time.
The first time,
Every time.
Sometimes the second time. So we're going to give you a number today. It's going to move the markets. Yes, it is. So it's either going to be really good or really crappy. And then mortgage rates get crappier. It impacts everybody. And the next month they're like, oh, so
You were
sorry.
way off.
Let's revise that, shall we? Oh my God.
I still never forget the time that they said that there was a $250,000 job increase one month, and the following month they revised to a $250,000 job loss. That's a $500,000
It's ridiculous.
job swing. How do you get that off? It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
So again, we have ADP tomorrow.
yes, we do.
And then we have BLS on Friday. So those are market movers. So don't get too excited, folks, because we know that it is volatile out there, and we just have to keep our little, eyes on the mark, and you have more to lose than to gain. So be careful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. Lock.
Be careful and stay in the know. It's important in this day and age. There's so many things that are leading it to be so volatile, like you said, that
right.
Whatever you do, just make sure that you're getting out there and you're reading these things and you're educating yourself. I think regardless of the market that we're in, as long as you be that forever learner, that's going to help increase your level of conversion, because we know that when we talk to someone that we feel like knows what the hell they're talking about, we like them, we trust them.
Yes.
When we're kind of iffy about it and we're questioning if they really know what they're talking about, we don't trust them. We don't want to do business with them. It's that simple.
It is that simple. And just remember too, don't make promises, don't make projections. They're often wrong, not always. They're often wrong. And we were teasing an economist last week about like, hello, like, why do they do that? And you have to, as an economist, it's demanded of you, but oy vey. Okay, here's another little bright spot. We've got pending home sales, signed contracts for February were up. They were up in January, they're up in February. There were no revisions to the January number. That's 3 months in a row. So people are buying houses again, yeah?
Yeah. Well, they're starting to see rates come back down. All the people that were on the fence are, oh, I got to get in now.
That's right.
And all you need is for rates to drop below 6, and everyone and their mother's gonna be racing in to buy a house.
Well, again, I think that there are a couple of things. So first of all, there is this misconception amongst homeowners about what bad rates are. They have no idea. So they think that these are bad rates, and they have no idea what bad rates could really, really look like. So NerdWallet was saying that this is a really good time for sellers, actually, and that there are a lot of advantages. They have a lot of equity. And do you know what else they found? 26% of respondents thought that the mortgage rates were cited the mortgage rates as why they weren't buying a house right now. Do you realize that means that more than 70% of people, that is not the reason they're not buying a house right now? So go find them, right? So it is really the opportunity right now. You have to be educated. You have to educate your borrowers, your realtors, your referral partners. We've been pounding that beat for, I don't know, 3 years now. And so it is so important. The days where you could be a loan officer, sit in your office and just show up once a month to a roundtable meeting, that's over. That everything's changing, and you are expected to be part of that conversation and keep up. Yeah.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
And, another thing I think now, and we need to be having this conversation is, listen, we're never going to be able to time the market, right? So there's a lot of clients out there that keep saying, well, rates have been dropping, and I think that they're going to continue to drop. And naturally, if we look at history, rates have dropped every time we have entered a recession. So they're not wrong, but the conversation that we need to be having with them is now is when you want to get in. Now is the opportunity, because the market has slowed down a little bit. If we're going to have room to negotiate on that home, it's going to be right now. So let's get in, let's get you the best price, because if you wait too long and you don't time it perfectly and you get in right after the bottom, well, that seller is going to be a lot more confident you're not going to get that deal. And while you might get the lower rate, at the end of the day, you're not going to get a deal on that home. So let's buy today while we get that deal. And more than likely, you can refinance them into the future if rates drop. And that's the conversation that we really need to be having with them.
Yeah.
It is really important to note that the usual spring inventory increase is not happening. So
No.
we're at like half of the usual inventory going into the spring season. So the competition, and Kevin, I think you're seeing this too. Like my clients it's multiple offers again. Like if
I do have a theory on low inventory that I came up last week with a meeting with a bunch of realtors, and they were saying it's the weather, that all the rain that we've been having, storms, that's delayed everybody from all their clients from putting places on the market. They want to paint the places, they want to do all this work on the exterior, and they have not even had a chance to do that until just this week. So, and then not just here in California, the rest of the country is a little more delayed, but all those terrible storms and all that stuff, they've been delaying people from putting homes on the market.
So Megan, how do you feel being from New Jersey, or from places that snow? You currently reside on the East Coast. So rain stops us. Would rain stop you there? It's more like snow and locusts and hurricanes.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm in Florida right now. If there was, a hurricane going on, I'm obviously, I'm not going to be out there, right?
Well, a hurricane's a little different than a rainstorm, but I get the point.
Yeah, but rain in Jersey, or where I grew up in Wyoming, heck, if we had like 3 feet of snow on the ground, that's not stopping us from doing anything in Wyoming. We're just out and we know how to bear the weather. So
right. I lived
Depends on
in
where you're at.
Alaska for a while and we didn't have snow days that I recall at all.
Well,
Right?
listen,
Yeah,
in
no
Southern
snow days, sadly.
In Southern California, they don't even go outside if it's raining. They can't, well, first of all, they can't drive in it. That's
That's not just Southern California. That is all of California. No one can drive. It is, don't even get me started. Don't get me
I've
started.
been secretly enjoying all the posts of the cold weather that you guys have been having and watching everyone complain and just sitting here
laughing
a little bit. Yeah.
I'm sure you're laughing at us. And why wouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah.
it's totally, yeah, it's crazy, right? So yeah, our idea of cold is not what the rest of the world's idea of cold would be. So there you go. Yeah,
Is it
crazy.
43 degrees freezing?
Pardon me?
Isn't 43 freezing?
Oh, you know what? I told you I was in Chicago for a week and a half recently, and I was shocked at how fast I acclimated to 35 not seeming like such a bad deal. You know, like the first day I was
You
there, I'm like,
acclimate.
oh, it's 35. I'm going to not walk there. And by a few days later, I'm like, oh, it's only 35. I can walk there. It's really interesting how you get used to it. So with that being said, so we just got the final reading for GDP. It was at 2.6%, right? For Q4.
Yes.
And yes.
Well, here, hold on. Can you share it? Can you let me share my screen real
Oh,
quick? I want to share
yes.
about
Let me see if I
inventory
remember
right
how the
now
heck
with
to
you
do that.
guys.
Hang on. Oh God, we should have done this before, for God's sake.
I can walk you through it.
There we go. No, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Look at me. Come on.
Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so let's go over what's actually happening with existing inventory right now and why home prices are going to remain resilient. Okay, we're going to continue to see homes appreciate. Again, once rates drop, it's going to get even hotter out there than it is now. And what's going to help with keeping home appreciation so strong is the fact that there's nothing out there. So one report that we look at to get inventory is existing homes. And the last report that came out said that there was 980,000. But what this report isn't going to tell you is that that number actually includes homes that are under contract. Now, there's some real estate agents on this call, originators on this call as well. Are you going to take your client to go out to see a home that's going to be closing next week? No, you're not going to do that. So we have to subtract that out. And there's 417,000 of them. So when we do that, our active listings, which is actual inventory, this is on a national level that people can move into, is at 563,000. You guys, this is tight.
Oh, I love this chart.
Look at this compared to history.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not only that,
I
but
was trying to find that chart this morning. It's like, where are we in compared to history? Because it seems really low to me, but
yeah, our population has grown immensely.
Right.
And back in 2007, we had 4 million homes in existing inventory. Look at us now.
wow.
It's very, very tight. And you know what? I think that builders kind of learned their lesson back from, the last housing crash where they kept putting up more and more homes, but they weren't going back and looking at birth rates and seeing, okay, how many new potential people are going to be coming into the market? They didn't look at that.
Right.
Now, this time, they're not going to make that same mistake again. And we're seeing that.
Right. But we have a big problem because we don't have enough inventory, period. Like, yeah. So we have a question
and they're not
here.
building.
Pardon me?
Yeah.
And they're not building.
Yeah.
And
Right.
people who have a house with a 2.5% mortgage are not going to leave it for a while.
Well, sometimes they have to. So
They have to.
It's different.
we had I was just talking our friend Jason Bellevue, who does our YouTube channel. He had a client this weekend who was looking at a place. The sellers had listed it at one price, and they're just jam-packed into this property. So his clients go in to see, and he's telling them, you've got to use some vision. Just imagine it empty, which most people can't do, right? So because people can't imagine anything, it just sits there on the market. It'd been there on the market. They drop the price. And then it gets to the point where they can't sell it because they probably haven't listened to their realtor who's told them, you need to get all that crap out of there and stage it and make it look good. No. And there's like wire, all this crazy stuff. Anyway, it hadn't sold. So most people can't visualize it. And then they're in a position where they're like, well, if we can't sell it for this amount and we have this rate, then it doesn't make any sense, right? So there's that conversation going out there, but it will work itself out at some point. It always does. So, we're in this transition period, and they don't happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
So we have a question here about whether this recording will be available. And the answer is they're always available, except for when we have the CFPB on. So next week's won't, but this week's will. So it will be posted probably over the weekend. You can either click on it from our website, www.mortgagepros.com, 411. Oh God, no, www.mortgagepros411.com, or our YouTube channel under the same name. And guys, subscribe. Be subscribers, and then you get a little pop-up alert when we post one. It's a good thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely subscribe.
Yeah.
Another question that we got in there that I would love to talk about is ChatGPT. You guys.
Yes.
Have you two taken a look at this?
I literally read the entire booklet that your guest this morning, Shashank Shakar, which you are so good at saying his name that I learned how to say his name, that he put out. And so, yeah, let's talk about ChatGPT.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's talk about it for a second. Do you guys, now listen, I'm pretty young, okay? I'm in my 30s now, but I'm pretty young. And I live in this weird time period where people that are a little bit younger than me, they automatically grew up with cell phones, right? Now, when I was a kid, came out with the cell phone when I was, in high school. That's when I got my first cell phone. And internet, growing up, we had the dial up, you had to dial up. It was slow as molasses. It was tough to get anything done. But we know, looking back now, how pivotal it was when they came out with the internet, right? It changed the world. And I'm a firm believer that this ChatGPT is going to do exactly that. And so if you're not looking into it right now, I'm telling you, you need to, or you're going to be left in the dust.
Yes.
You're going to be like, when we were kids and we looked at our parents and we were like, God, they're so old. That's going to be you if you do not get on doing this. It is here to make your life so much easier. Honestly, I think that something that can be really powerful for everyone on this call to do is sit down and think about all the tasks that you do for work, right? Maybe you prospect, maybe you write note recaps for these shows. Maybe you create social content from these shows, little micro clips for your Instagram or whatever the case may be. Whatever your job is, AI is here to help. This is insane. I'm going to share my screen. I just joined the, I'm paying for this thing on a monthly basis now. So look at how cool this is. So we can come in here and say, I am a loan officer in Broward County, Florida. Can you write me a monthly social calendar?
And it will remember what you've asked before. The next time you ask a question, you can refer back to what you've asked before, and it builds on it.
These
It's
are
incredible.
Terrible. It builds on it. So, okay.
National Beer Day, right off.
National Beer Day.
Good grief. I wonder
And
if
not only that
is different in different parts of the country. You know what I mean? Like if you do that in Napa County, California, where it's wine country, will you get a different answer than you get in Broward County, Florida?
Yes.
Test it out.
Well, here, I want to go off of this one. So I've been telling people forever that they need to do social media, right? And you have to start your videos with a hook to draw that audience in. And people are always like, well, I don't know what I should talk about. How do I hook them in? Ask them, can you give me 10 video hooks? Okay. Can we use number 1, but can you write me a script about buying versus renting? Let's say buying versus renting. I mean, look at this.
I know.
This is insane.
It is insane.
It blows my mind. And you know what? If you were to come in here, and you guys can test this while you're at home right now too, if you were to go here and type in the same thing, the same question that I asked it, verbatim, word for word, it's not going to come up with the same response.
Right.
Wow.
It's insane.
It
And
is.
not only
It's
that, maybe
incredible.
we want this, a little bit longer. Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, so let's say that's great, but can you add in some humor?
Oh.
It's kind of like choosing between marriage or just dating around for a while. Look at this. This is so crazy to me.
Yes.
And
And so here's my question, Megan. And did you guys cover
yes,
this morning? Like, how do you, I mean, you've got to fact check it on occasion, right? So, I mean, it's going to give you ideas. It's going to give you a template, but make sure that you're not just taking it, cutting and pasting without reading it. Okay, guys? Make
yes.
sure, like you
We
still
saw
are
that video
responsible
with,
for your content. So double check.
You are responsible for your content, but I will tell you as well that the more that you communicate with it, the more
Right.
that it's naturally going to take on your own personal voice. And the better that this gets, the better that it's going to get. But again, the way that I see this is to kind of use this as a template, right?
Right.
Oftentimes, the hardest part of coming up with a speech that you're going to give to real estate agents is creating the bones of the content, right? The structure. Use this to create that structure and then go through and add your own personal touch. It's going to cut what would maybe take you, hours in half at least. I mean, it's going to cut that down dramatically.
Yes.
Now, people asked, I am signed up for this. It's $20 per month. You can use it for free, though. The only difference is that
it knows who you are.
Free version, you can only use the default. It's automatically going to use the GPT 3.5 default. Now, this one's great because the speed is really fast. As you just saw, that's what we were on. Now, I've been exploring the 4. This came out like a week or so ago, but this is the most advanced model. It's a lot more complex. Listen, I'm still learning with this, but I really think that this is something that we all need to take time to understand. And not only that, but if you're feeling stressed out right now, like you can't get everything done, this is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. It is. I mean, even I think it's incredible. And I've always been kicking and screaming for a while, and I'm not on this one just because I've seen some really good examples of how it works and how you can employ it in your business. And so some of the things that are just complete blocks for us, which, I don't have ideas about this or whatever, that excuse is gone, because this will give you some ideas and give you some building blocks. And then, I mean, he gave examples of writing listings.
Oh, amazing.
Advertising scripts. I mean, it's just, it goes on and on.
It's insane. And this isn't like the only one out there. On our call today, and I'm more than happy to share the recording of that with you guys. Anyone, feel free to email me if you want me to send you the recording. It's just Megan, MEGAN @mbshighway.com. But he went over one today that's called Yoodli, YOODLI. And if you have a team and you manage a team, I think this is a game changer, especially if you're in sales, right? Let's say that you're a branch manager and you have a team of loan officers underneath you. Well, you're not going to sit there and micromanage and say, hey, let me listen to your calls. Let's see how we can, increase your level of conversion. Well, this one called Yoodli will listen to it. It'll listen to any speech that you give. It'll listen to any pitch that you give, whatever it is. And it will tell you, oh, you said 15 times. Oh, you did this. It will tell you how you can communicate more effectively. I was like, oh my, mind blown. Yeah. Mind blown. I remember at MBS Highway when I first started and I was just strictly in sales. And this only happened once and it was so embarrassing. But Barry said, you know what? We need to listen to everyone give a demo that's on the sales team. It was a grueling task. I mean, we had to listen to like 7 hours of demos. Yeah. And, there's a really embarrassing story with that. I'll save you guys, but
no, we want if we would have be embarrassed.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll tell you guys the story. It's really embarrassing though.
It better be embarrassing. If it's not,
it's really embarrassing. I got to go to the tool so that you can like really see what it is that I'm talking about. So this was years ago. We had I can't believe I'm about to tell this story. Audrey, only you would get this out of me. So years ago, we had just come out with one of our latest calculators, which is the loan comparison cost awaiting. Now, there's 2 different portions to this tool. right? The loan comparison portion is going to allow you to compare different loans that they might be thinking about to help them make a better decision. And then there's the cost of waiting piece, which is a really powerful tool, especially right now for the clients that are maybe thinking, oh, I'm going to wait for rates to come down a little bit more, and then I'll think about purchasing. So Barry pulls us all into Dan's office and he says, let me walk you guys through this tool. I'm so excited. We're going to start selling this. So he goes through and he's like, this is where you create the different loan options. Now, this is going to give us kind of a loan summary where you can come in and highlight, here's how the rate's going to be different. Here's how the points are going to be different. Then he goes on to tell us, okay, and this is great because you can compare the monthly cost snapshot for each of the different loans. And, right now we're at year 7, but we can zoom this out to whatever year it is that we want, and it will break it down for us. So all's good, right? I'm taking notes on this. I'm really paying attention. And then Barry says, this is where we can compare the principal and interest again for whatever point in time it is that we want. And then he goes, but this is what we like to call the money shot. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, money shot. I like the way that sounds. And I write down money shot and I star it. Every demo that I went to give showcasing this, I'm like, and this is what we like to call the money shot.
Okay, just pause for 1 second. For anyone who doesn't know what that means, go ahead and Google it on your own.
Not on your work computer.
Use somebody else's computer, though. Don't use your own computer because you really don't want that in there. Anyway, keep going, Megan.
Well, that was basically the one part that was rough. Yeah, the good old money shot. So,
well, a few years ago, I was teaching an NMLS class online, which is 8 hours, and this was before everyone had to have their, head and shoulders on the camera, so basically you're talking to yourself. You didn't see anybody else for 8 hours in a day, which is brutal, right? So there were times, like especially during COVID. I mean, I've had 270 people on a class. So the chat is going,
the chat's
flying by,
can't see any of them.
right? So it's going, and I always get really good comments, etc. One day there was this guy on there and he told me that I had said some word too many times, basically. And he said it in a very nice way. And I think that he had some background, and I actually appreciated the input, although frankly, I was glad it wasn't an expletive that had been slipping out of my mouth all day. It was not. But anyway, it's amazing what you say when you're talking to people that you're not even realizing what it is. So yeah, I hope nobody does that for this show. God, I don't even know. Do I want to know what we say over and over again?
Well, I'm curious if Yoodil would actually pick up on money shot and say it's not something good to say.
I think you should test that and report back.
Back in the day, I did Toastmasters, and they did they always had an counter in your station.
Yes,
but they'd also pick up things like that. And Toastmasters is actually really good if you want to get out there and be social again.
Years ago, I called them repeatedly and said, hey, I'm interested in upping my game, and nobody ever called me back. So this is why you people get what you get. I never got to go to Toastmasters.
I just walked in the door.
Oh yeah, that wasn't possible when I was doing this. So Megan, the other day I watched the session that you did with Renee Rodriguez, you and Barry, and you had my friend Helga James on there in the hot seat for 3,000 hours. And so I just wanted to give her a little shout out because she made a comment somewhere else this week that was a reminder for all of us when we're talking to our borrowers, that you want to make sure if somebody's telling you what the rate is that someone else told them, you don't take that at face value. You have to look at the points. And we have talked about that before because it's a big issue. Someone will get a LE with 3 3/8 points on it, but they don't notice that. They just notice that the rate's much lower than yours. So look at the points. What is the cost of the rate? Does it make sense from that perspective? But boy, when she was in the hot seat with Renee and you and Barry.
She did so good.
Oh my gosh. And she was like, oh my gosh, I was so nervous and I was so embarrassed. I'm like, don't be embarrassed. We were all blown away that I would have been in a puddle on the ground after.
I would have been crying. I mean, I've been coached by both of those gentlemen before.
Yeah.
And Barry's made me cry multiple times. They push hard, and she was in front of an audience of thousands of people. I was like, go Helga.
Incredible. Unbelievable. Incredible. So Kevin, were you going to say something?
Well, nothing about being trained and speaking with those guys, but just when you run into people saying, oh yeah, I got this rate. It's not just the rate, it's not just the points,
Mhm.
it's the underwriting. So like I
And
went through a deal
appraisal.
where I thought, okay, this is, I can't beat that rate. And then it turned out that they were requiring them to pay off close to $20,000 in credit card debt in order to get that rate. And I'm like, my underwriting had no credit cards needing to be paid off. And that would have, if I had pushed harder on it and I would have known, I'd have been able to keep that loan and got the client a much better deal than having to be strapped for all their cash when they closed the house.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have that conversation with Mr. McCardle next week again, because I saw him, we grilled him on this when he was on here last time. And then I saw him talking and making light about how refis were just like a no-brainer and anyone, just go after the best rate. And I'm like, if you're going after the best rate without the best strategy, you've got an issue. Here's another thing that I heard that they made a comment on. There is an appraisal bias lawsuit that's going on right now. And the CFPB did a statement with the Department of Justice, a statement of interest. And they made the comment that lenders are responsible for any discrimination committed by a third party. Did you get that part? Third party.
Yep.
If
that the
they
whole
use
time.
it, can I finish, please? Jeez. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay.
I know.
Let me start at the beginning. Lenders are responsible for any discrimination committed by a third party if they use that information in a loan decision, if they know that the appraisal has bias. So here's the question. How in the heck are we supposed to know whether an appraisal has bias? So you know what I mean? So anyway, that's going to be an
You can
interesting one.
sometimes.
What?
You can sometimes.
Kevin, can you all the time?
No.
Is there a clear and distinct path to know whether an appraisal has bias?
I feel that way about the whole world right now.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, we don't know. So, yeah, anyway.
Well, speaking of that, there was a settlement in that big case in Marin.
Yeah, but it was a settlement.
It was a settlement, and this is where you got to be clear on, because anyone who's ever been involved in a lawsuit, there's a difference between losing the case and settling the case. And if you're in a lawsuit, what happens is, and unfortunately I had to go through this personally, the insurance company will kind of draws a line in the sand to say,
Yeah.
listen, we're not paying you any more money towards this thing. Yes, you might be right, but they've offered to take X number of dollars. We're going to pay that X number of dollars and settle now. That might mean you have to say, yeah, I apologize. I did, something I shouldn't have done, and settle. Otherwise, you're out X number of dollars because insurance has cut you off and you can't keep going and fighting the fight. So you got to watch for that sometimes. Just personal experience on settlements.
We need to have another appraisal conversation show, because there's so much going on right now with automated valuations, et cetera. So many changes that are happening at the moment. But I'm going to stay out of that conversation right now because it's a slippery slope. And my concern is always, I want the people who are actually committing terrible acts and discriminating. Frankly, I want to just chop off their heads or something like that. But I want to focus on them. You know what I mean? And not have somebody settle who may or may not have done something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, but that's for another day.
You and I as LOs, we see it when I see an appraisal, and I can see when the appraiser has taken a shortcut. But
you don't know why they took a shortcut.
I don't know why they did it
on every possible demographic.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the borrowers who thought that their appraisal came in low because they had a Trump sign in their front yard. So
maybe AI can come in and help with that.
Yeah, because that'll solve everything. Hey, just in brighter news, the average homeowner has $178,000 in equity. And at one point we had an average of 57%, an equity position of 57%. We're at 53% right now. Even though the values have come down just ever so slightly, we still have an amazing amount of equity in this country, and people who are able to tap into their equity to do whatever they need to do.
So I think that's an important conversation to be had right now.
Me too.
As we continue to head into the recession, people begin to struggle a little bit. let's not forget that we have the ability to be that shining light and help them reorganize that and get through
Yes.
this time period.
Yes, 100%. That is our job. So, so personal income is up, not dramatically, which is a good thing. That'll help, right?
Yes.
CoreLogic came out with their loan performance numbers for January. 30 days or
Amazing.
more was down from 3% to 2.8%.
Which
90
funnels
days.
into the rest of them.
What?
I said, which funnels into the rest of them.
It
So
does.
good.
And 90 days in foreclosures stayed the same, 1.2% on
This
90
number's
days.
amazingly
And
low.
and 3/10 on foreclosure. So again, when you're talking to people, they're not going to be able to, I mean, there's not going to be some big, huge foreclosure crisis for them to pull from. If they're waiting for some big mess, it's not coming. I mean, that's what we're
Realtors are
seeing.
going like this when it's not happening.
That drives me nuts. Hey, Megan, can you run us quickly through median price versus appreciation? I know you guys have a million
Yes.
slides on that, and it's always confusing. And I think especially because sometimes median home price numbers come out and they get confused with appreciation numbers. And then the news reporters who either don't understand or don't want to
Analysts.
understand start messing around and spreading misinformation. So you got that?
Yes. So the median home price oftentimes will get confused with appreciation. And we have to, first of all, think about the media. This isn't a nonprofit organization, okay? They're going to use whatever headline tactic they can use to get as many eyeballs on that program so that they get paid more. So first off, we have to understand that and we have to be aware of that. And we have to educate ourselves so that we know how to combat that. Because all that's happening is our clients are watching these shows, watching Diana Olick on CNBC, and they're hearing this stuff and they're saying, oh my gosh, the housing market, it's in a bad spot right now.
Yeah.
But let's break it down, okay? The median home price, that's the middle of homes sold during that given time period. So generally speaking, it's measuring a month at a time, right? Because we get the new report each month. So it's measuring the middle price of homes sold during that time period. So let's say, you know, there's not a lot of people going out buying those multi-million-dollar homes right now. What are they doing? They're buying more on the lower end. And if that's the case and more are bought on the lower end versus the higher end, then that median home price is going to come down. And that's going to look very negative to your client that's listening to these news reporters talking about this. But it's important to articulate that that is not appreciation, right? Appreciation is what we get when we look at Case-Shiller, for example. That's like the gold standard report for appreciation. And, you know, appreciation, listen, it's not going to be the 20% that we saw back in the day, but homes are going to continue to appreciate strong. We just got done looking at inventory levels. They're tight.
They're tight.
Yet we have growing demand.
Yep.
So appreciation, again, while it's not going to be nearly 20%, it might be in the, you know, 4 or 5, whatever percent range. It obviously depends upon your area. We're not going negative in that regard.
Yeah,
Right.
A good example of that median home price is in Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure last month, the median home price rose dramatically compared to the rest of the country. And why was that? Because they
No inventory on the lower end.
They had a tax on mansions over $4 million. And
which those aren't mansions, just for the record. Those are like
Yeah.
those are like single family ranchers that have had some rehab done to them. But anyway, go ahead.
Anyhow, so suddenly there was more of those sold because they wanted it. There was a 4% tax on those, whether you made
It was 5%.
5%. Okay,
Yeah,
whether you
my
made a
friend lives down
profit or not, you're having to pay 5%. So if you bought a place and then turned around, oh wait, I'm going to sell it. Oh, I'm selling it for the same price I made on it. I have to give the county 5% of the sales proceeds. That's just crazy. But anyhow, everyone was trying to ditch their mansions back in the day. It's probably all the second home Beverly Hills people have. But that fact would increase the median home prices in Los Angeles because now you have more homes sold in the upper echelon of home prices versus the lower echelon home prices.
And what's been happening nationally, though, is that the upper end hasn't been selling as much. And so that's why that median price has been coming down. So again, it's important to know the distinction. And just in case you were wondering about the exact numbers, because you know how I love to have those. So CoreLogic, who is great with their numbers, their home values, they were up 0.8% in February. And next month they're forecasting that they'll be up 0.2%. So guys, the trend is not down, it's up.
Yep.
They have we're at a 4.4% year over year appreciation, and their forecast, they actually revised it. So they're expecting it to be 3.7% year over year versus the 3.1%. So they've improved their forecast for the next 12 months. So it will be, again, tight inventory heading into the spring home buying season with like nothing, not much on the market. It's going to be wild out there. We're going to have to make sure our clients are pre-approved, make sure that we're ready to really be available and a resource for our buyers and their realtors. Make sure you're calling your listing agents to tell them how amazing your buyers are. Do everything you can to have your buyers stand out from the rest. It's really going to matter. It really matters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Oh my gosh. You're like, uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Oh my God. So, okay. So I saw this other little thing and I don't know why it caught my eye, but you know how every once in a while you'll see some underwriting thing. You're like, oh yeah. Okay. So here it is. So here was the question. Is a wood stove allowed as a heat source, right? In underwriting for the agencies? And the answer was, if it's typical for the area and you have comps to support the value with the same heat source, then it's okay. I thought that was interesting. What do you think? Do you think it's interesting?
That's pretty much always the answer.
I know, but do you remember it? I bet you didn't remember it. Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's a fun little
Okay.
fact.
See.
I
Okay.
ran
Here's
into that
another.
with dome houses. You can't, if there's typical for the area and you can get comps with them, you can do a loan on a dome or a
Okay.
circular
Can we
house.
discuss how often a geodesic, or however you say it, dome is typical for an area? Like, have you ever seen a subdivision with nothing but domes? I don't think so.
I had it. The one I had, it was really interesting. It came up. It was in the Berkeley area. It was circular home.
Yeah.
And there were comps, but there just weren't enough.
Yeah.
There was only, I think there was maybe a dozen or so in the area, and only 2 had sold, and they needed the 3rd sale in order to have comps. And then they decided they were going to leave me for a better rate. And I'm like, you don't want to leave me for a better rate. You want to get out of your contract while you still have a finance option, because this is not going to close. And no, this guy's giving us a better rate. Like, okay, buy here, sign cancel fee here, because I'm out of here. And that's the only time I ever had a client cancel in writing, because I knew what was going to happen. Guess what? He didn't get the deal. The other guy couldn't do the appraisal either, because there wasn't 2 comps, and he lost his down.
So I wonder if that's one of the things they'll change when they're revising the appraisal requirements, because somebody pulled that number out of their head. Oh, you got to have this many comps. So maybe we look at that. Do you really need that many comps? Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe just throw the whole thing up in the air and start over.
Yeah, well.
Okay. Did you know that 60% of second mortgages are being taken out by people who bought their places in 2020 and 21? 60% of seconds are being taken out by people who bought in 2020 and 21. So let's extrapolate from there, people, and figure out, who are we going to be looking at down the road for a refinance? Because depending on how much they're taking out, when you start blending rates, if the rates come down, it may make sense for them to refinance, right? Absolutely. But just a recap, 12-month seasoning with Fannie Mae now. So we got that to deal with. And are they going to count, you know what I mean? That HELOC, when was the last draw? It all is
something interesting on the HELOCs though right now. It might actually be a great time to take out a HELOC if you want it for long term, because you can get a HELOC now. I have seen a couple lenders that have them where negative margins. So you usually HELOC is 2.5 over prime, and but I have seen some, or maybe, sorry, not 2.5, quarter over prime, 0.5% over prime. I've seen them going under prime for the margin, and that is a sweet deal to have when rates go low. So get it now.
Do you know when that is?
I don't remember who the lender was. It was one of the big banks.
You know what? That is no help at all. Thanks a lot.
That's all right.
Yeah, here, refer that out. We have no way to help you.
It
That's
was
great.
one of the big four. Go look at those four.
Okay, so California MBA, which apparently I'm not supposed to call it CMBA. I almost got put in timeout for doing that. Is having a mortgage innovators conference in Southern California in the middle of June. Now, for some reason, I don't have the exact dates or location on me at the moment. I thought I did. So I will have that for you next time. And they are giving Mortgage Pro 411 listeners a discount on the entrance. So I will have that for you next week. And along with the code, we'll confirm that. And maybe even a link, you never know. I mean, it could happen. So anyway, there you go. So
And here we go.
mortgage innovation.
News from our audience. Symmetry has a negative margin.
Do they now?
That's what it says from Tom Barnes right there.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Mm.
Good. See, we love your input. Thank you for letting us know. That is great. Oh my goodness. Okay, did you know? Can you see what I do? I'm like, what I do with my spare time. Did you know that regional banks close 70% of commercial loans? So kids, what happens when regional banks stop lending or tighten their guidelines or? So
It's gonna be a problem.
we're talking about doing a commercial show on commercial lending, just because it's something that we should know about. You as a broker or a lender, you get these deals. I mean, people call you and say, hey, can you do this? And there are some places that you can either work with and get paid and not have to give away your client. You can still help them. So anyway, so stand by. We're working on that. Yeah. Oh, and just for fun, did you guys all read Christmas commentary on Saturday?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God. It was April Fool's Day. So I'll just leave it at that.
I think I read the
Go
first
back
sentence.
to it.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Elliot Eisenberg, who was our guest last week,
Oh, love him. Little bow
I do too.
tie.
On Friday, yeah, we had him. He's the best. So on Friday, by the time I got to like the third part of his little 70 words a day, I was so pissed. And then I realized it was an April Fool's
April
Day.
Fools.
So anyway, yeah. So there you
Gotcha.
go. So tappable equity is up 56% in the past 3 years. That's $3.4 trillion. So even though we're down from the peak, there's still a lot of equity out there. People are in a very, very strong financial position. Be an advisor. Go out of your way to learn new programs. Do not be lazy. And Megan, what are you seeing around the country? You speak to different people all over the place. There are people who are doing loans and they're busy. What are they doing?
There are people that are doing loans and are busy. What they're doing is, at the end of the day, they're getting back to basics. They're going out there, they're building referral relationships, they're hosting events and bringing in real estate agents. Yeah. They're helping build their team. They're using ChatGPT. They're out there on social media. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to get out there and get back to basics. When we were busy, this is a big thing that I think has changed, is when we were busy, and I put on calls like you guys put on here all the time. And one comment that I was getting from a lot of real estate agents in particular is, I never hear from my originator anymore. And, it makes sense. When we get busy, we naturally forget to build those relationships and follow up. And I think what we can be really doing right now is building and strengthening those relationships and providing value. And thinking about providing value, just to circle back to ChatGPT, Shashank did offer to do a presentation expressway for us on MBS Highway, which is a tool that we have, which is done for you presentations. So slides and a coaching video to go along with it. He's going to be creating one for our subscribers that you can package up and go out there and present to real estate agents. So that is another great way. Any way that you can get out there and provide value right now and build that relationship, that's what we want to be doing. I mean, just don't forget to pick up your phone. We forget about this thing. Give them a call, touch base.
Exactly. Guys, we are seeing it over and over again. We have to get back to normal. Like you have it, because others are doing that. There are other people that are out there, they're networking, they're seeing their referral partners, they're talking to your referral partners. They're probably doing it today at lunch, for God's sake. So if you're not doing it, someone else is. It reminds me of, a couple of weeks ago, we did a show with Goran with Cimarron Software, and we were talking about tech and data and the resources and the CRMs, and how if you're not using the tech that's available, someone else is, and they are systematized and they're after your people. And so, not to like freak anyone out or anything, but it is time to get with the program and to use what is available and to get to be more systematized. God knows I'm working on it. I mean, I feel like somebody who's in recovery. I'm going through my emails and realizing, oh my God, this person just wrote me this super nice thing and I never responded. I literally called someone yesterday. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I just never saw it. He goes, I wrote that first, so long ago. I'm like, I know, I'm reforming, so even if you haven't done it right in the past,
make it right.
You can change and you can do it better going forward. And so we focus on what are the steps we're going to take? What are we going to do today? Get yourself on a schedule. I saw this really great little breakdown of the things not to do. So I'm going to turn it around into what you should be doing. Have a business plan, set goals, work with a coach or somebody, a mentor, someone who can help you. Schedule yourself. Make sure you have a schedule. Learn how to say no. There's a biggie. You probably have to go to therapy for that one, but whatever. Figure out how to prioritize. So we spend a lot of time doing busy work, right? You can spend, days and weeks doing a bunch of crap that doesn't do anything to help your business. Don't do that. And learn to delegate. Make sure you're not micromanaging things to the point where you are doing projects that somebody else could be working on while you could be going and getting new clients. And again, I'm saying this as much to myself. I've been working on this too. So it is.
Well, another thing that you've been working on that I think is really important to bring up is, we talked about a gratitude mindset yesterday.
Yeah.
And that is so important because what I see specifically right now, and, mostly I'm talking to originators, what I see, whether you're a branch manager or just a producing LO, is there's two different mindsets out there. There's the mindset of, oh my God, this is never going to be what it once was. I'm never going to be able to get that second home in this market. I'm never going to be able to live that life that I was living. There's those people. And then there's people that are like, this is an opportunity right now. This is an opportunity for me to improve myself. This is an opportunity for me to grow in this area. And those people that have that mindset, they're doing a lot better, and so are their teams. Yes. And if you manage a team right now, I really think you need to think about this.
Yeah.
Because whatever energy you're embodying, you're putting back out there, and your team's doing the exact same. And, listen, if I'm a client and I'm thinking about purchasing a home, do I want to talk to someone that's like, oh, yes, it's not what it once was, but this is what we're in? Or do I want to talk to someone that says, now's a really great opportunity to get in. Let me tell you why.
That's right.
You want to work with that person. So, I really encourage you to do that. And Audrey, you said you have this whole morning routine that I think is really important. And I do something very similar. I start out every morning doing a quick little meditation because I find that helps me kind of get in that state. And then I actually pray, but my praying is, saying thank you and wishing health and well-being upon all of these amazing people in my life that, that I care about and love so much and help me. And, tell everyone a little bit about your morning routine too. Because I think this is so important.
I do. Yeah, I do have a routine and I'm continually honing it right now. So there is this thing called priming where you basically, it's a breathing exercise. It's this, it creates energy within you. And then you literally do this whole walk through, being grateful, what you're grateful for. So remembering things that were great experiences, bringing those into you. And then, and I know this is getting a little airy fairy, but honestly, who cares? It is, because it matters. If you can shift yourself from the negative to the positive, it really impacts your day for the better. And
Being
so
grateful for
that, and then I am on my emails, like I've got them under control now. And so I just stay on top of them. And when I do that every day, then there won't be hundreds of thousands of them anymore. And that is no exaggeration. And then, I've even gotten to the point where I am thankful for the horrible people that I have had make me learn so many valuable lessons in recent history. It's been life altering and for the better. And so it is definitely, it takes some energy and some work on shifting that, because I too was in a not great place. And so it's something we should all be looking at. And, we got 8 hours that we should be allocating towards work a day. If you have 6 loans or 2 loans or whatever in your pipeline, they probably don't take 8 hours a day right now. Use that time to do something positive for your business and your life. So that is for sure something that I do and am working on. Megan does it. And, I know that Kevin's been doing more of that too. So we're not trying, we're living what we're preaching here. And so,
and I just a caveat is add being thankful to people that are bad to you, because they make you stronger.
well, that's what I just said. Yeah, exactly. 100%. It is. I mean, and let me tell you something, it's not easy to do that, but when you can get yourself to that point, there you go. And we are, and I would just like to point out to Megan and Kevin, I bought a new camera because I've noticed that I look a little blue and weird and the lighting gets weird, and it's shifted from 11 a.m. till now. Have you noticed that? I don't look the same.
You
so
look
I don't know
great.
what to do. But anyway, so there you go.
Fantastic.
So kids, we are, you can Google priming. Tony Robbins has it on YouTube, and there's it's a guided thing. You can just walk through. It's great. So with that being said, next week, Mark McCardle live. Be here, be on time, send me your questions.
Or miss it.
Pardon me?
Or you will miss it.
Or you'll miss it. And so we'll look forward to that. And then we have NAM Ledge coming up. Do we leave next week? I think we leave next week. Yeah, we do leave next week. So hope we're going to see some of you there. And with that, have an amazing week, you guys. Mwah. Megan, we love you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you guys. I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you too. All right. Kisses. Bye.